What's going on, guys? It's Adam P and welcome to the Seller Cup weekend. We are working in an official capacity today for the women's team, and just to explain how this works for content creators, so throughout the years, and when I mean throughout the years, I mean through the dark times with our women's team, when there wasn't anyone covering it, when there wasn't anyone from Newcastle United media team dedicated to being able to promote the women's team, I was one of those people who, of course, was able to put everything I've got into trying my best to help Becky and the girls out and to promote women's football, and of course to get you guys to go along and watch the games. Now, because of how it is nowadays, media's spot on, got all the staff members in to support the girls. I guess I get a nod of approval, so I've got media agreements with the club for the women's team, so I am entitled to request media passes to any of the women's team matches I would like to attend. I am still in the press area for match against Atletico Madrid, and also for Eddie Howe's press conference after the game. And I mentioned Eddie Howe and I highlight him because, my words, what a manager he is. That press conference was spot on against Espanyol last night. Continues to show confidence, continues to back our football club, despite being in a situation where it is out of his control. What a manager. Don't get better than him. For you guys, thank you so much. It's because of you I'm in a situation like this when I can't cover our football club and I can't get opportunities like this. And it means the world to me. So thank you so much. It really does mean everything to me. And of course, for those of you who aren't subscribed, join the journey. 40% of you watching this video are on the journey, so make sure you join it and make sure you see everything that our football club has to offer through the eyes of a fan.
So we do apologise for that. There's the mics there as well, the team suits.
Just waiting for Becky's press conference after the game now, of course, with there being 2 matches on today. Getting ourselves some food now before the men's game. Chips, chicken kebab and rice. What would you rate it out of 10 if you had the chance to try that out?
At the start of the season, I think it's 29 days till we actually kick off against Forest at the City Ground, so we've got some time to go. I would say we're probably 50% of the way there in terms of what we can keep improving on and get to that next level. I think we've not seen the best of us yet across the pre-season, but what I will say is the game against Bayern for the first game was a really good starting point to then build on it in the second one. So I think there's levels we can really produce as a group in the next couple of weeks.
Just look at the proceedings now.
have it full time at St James's Park. Just left Eddie Howe's press conference before. Had a chance to hear from the manager directly in person. He was asked a ridiculous amount of questions about Alexander Isak as expected. And we'll talk about his comments shortly, but we'll begin with the transfer news outside of the press conference. Was Malick Thiaw is now a done deal to Newcastle United. 24-year-old AC Milan German centre-half will be coming over to Newcastle over the next 48 hours to conduct his medical. And that is a player who will likely be involved in the bench of some sort against Aston Villa. Player I don't know an awful lot about, but certainly you've seen it over the last couple of days. We need at least one centre-half in. Bird and Shaw, love the pair with them, but of course they are a lot older now. Sven Botman, Eddie Howe mentioned in the press conference, he is fine. He was scheduled to come off the pitch at half time, so no issues there. But Chow will come in and he will hopefully be the centre half alongside Botman ID. That's going to really kick on and make sure our back line is sorted this season. In terms of Eddie Howe comments about transfers, stayed silent on Shaw, stayed silent on Wiss. I did not mention any transfers. He was asked directly about incoming signings. He said, I don't know anything about it. In typical Eddie Howe fashion, not a word. So when you look away from that and you talk about Alexander Isak next, because Isak, every single part of that press conference was mentioned about that one player. And you can understand why. It's the biggest transfer currently in world football. A huge player who Eddie Howe has continued in that press conference today to back. He wants Isak to go nowhere. If I could simply have a conversation with the player to convince him to stay, I would have done it yesterday. That was the comment he said directly to the journalist. And when you look into the situation surrounding Alexander Isak, still a lot of question marks in the air. Howe is asked directly from Craig Hope, can you explain a lot more about how the Isak situations work? Have you kept him out of the squad? Has he decided to be out of the squad? Eddie Howe has chosen not to answer. He's chosen to keep certain information away from us, which of course he's doing that in his best interest to keep hold of the player and also just to make sure social media doesn't catch flame of what's going on. And you can understand Eddie Howe's point of view because how destructive has this been? How destructive has the Alexander Isak situation been at our football club? It has been heavily destructive. We have won 0 games, by the way, of this pre-season. The entire pre-season, we haven't won a single game for the fans. Not to mention, you look at our current striker situation. Gordon was described how just having a twist coming off the pitch. It wasn't an injury as initially feared. Not as bad as initially feared anyway. A twist. We'll hopefully be fine with Aston Villa next week. But coming out from the games and coming out from the press conference, Howard's still got a lot of things going on in the background. We can't deny it. He's done well in the press conference. He's done well with very tricky questions. He's been asked an awful amount of questions today from the journalists, but he's came out of this. And being able to be in that press conference room today and to hear and to see firsthand of him is a real privilege because he is so good. He speaks so well. He looks so well. The way he talks about Newcastle United, he is the man you will back. No matter what you see and what you hear on social media, Eddie Howe is the guy you will back, and that is the side you will stick with. I felt like Eddie Howe was also incredibly well media trained. Now, of course, on social media, and I feel like anyone watching this video would probably know that without me telling you that. But being there and being able to see how he works with the journalists live in person, wow, that is a privilege now. I actually think he's quite smart as well because when a journalist or someone asks him a question about Isak or about a transfer or about something that you know, you're being a bit sneaky asking that question, he would just give quite blunt, brash and not great answers for a journalist to type about. Whereas if you ask him about Joe Linton, you ask him about something that's, you know, he likes in terms of a question, he'll give you a straight up answer, you go into a lot of detail and you give you plenty of information that you can quote up and put into your articles. So his psychology is quite good because, of course, over time, the more you get used to how in the press conference, the more questions you ask the guy, you then start to learn what questions you should and shouldn't be asking him. And again, listen, how I understand he's frustrating. I understand the frustration you can't getting all these questions, but you have to look at the wider picture. Of course, Isak and the transfers, that is always going to be talked about. That's always what fans are going to want to know, and that's always what people want to know. And while those questions can't be damaging for Newcastle, it's also one of them ones where you just always are going to get those questions. So I think Howe's dealt with it well. It was a real privilege being in there today and seeing how it operated and being able to physically see how Eddie Howe responded to the ISAK questions and just see everything going on. I'm pleased. I thought the performances today against Newcastle, well, for Newcastle and their women's team, both good performances against Champions League opposition sides. Not only we lost both the games, I was happy enough where I could kind of walk away from that and say that we've got stuff going into the Villa game next week. That being said, we need transfers. We need signings ASAP. And I'm sure we're going to get that done. But for now, yeah, let's make sure we get that over the line. But in terms of my content, of course, Malick Thiaw medical for the next 48 hours. So make sure you stay updated. Shirt printing vlogs, medical vlog. We're going to do a lot. So make sure you don't go anywhere. And you don't mind me. I'm going home. And apologies if this segment of the video came across as a bit rushed. Eddie Howe did take a while coming into the press conference room. So that's why I need to go to bed. So yeah, take care. Appreciate you watching. And we will see you all in the next one.